Welcome to Getting Started with Layout Builder for Drupal 9. This is Drupal GovCon, October 13th, 2021. And before I get started, I just wanted to highlight a few causes which I strongly believe in and that I've supported over the last year. StopAPIHate.org, and that's Asian American Pacific Islanders have suffered violence and hate against those folks, and I just wanted to highlight that. And then, of course, Black Lives Matter, I strongly believe in and wanted to highlight that as well, blacklivesmatter.com and stopAPIHate.org. So maybe give a donation if you feel so inclined. Bixel is hiring. So I work for Bixel. I love Bixel, and we're hiring. And we also have a virtual booth over the next 3 days here at Drupal GovCon. So feel free to stop by our virtual booth and chat with us. And yeah, I think we have, I don't know, something like 20 or 25 jobs listed right now on our website. So who am I? My name is Danny Englander, and I'm a senior front-end Drupal developer at Bixel. I'm in the Boston area, Boston, Massachusetts. Just moved back from California. I was living in California for 10 years and just moved back last week. On social media, I'm generally Danny_Englander. And I have a Drupal blog, which I've been blogging about Drupal stuff for the last 11 years through, Drupal 6, Drupal 7, Drupal 8, and now Drupal 9. And now we have Drupal 10 on the way. So yeah, you can check out some of my blog posts. I blog on a semi-regular basis. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? What is Layout Builder? What versions of Drupal does it work with? Who is it for? Anatomy of a Layout Builder page. Is Layout Builder extendable? Building with Layout Builder? Theming with Layout Builder? And a live demo. So this is kind of an introduction, and we're kind of going to cover a lot of different bases here. So what versions of Drupal does Layout Builder work with? Well, it started as an experimental module in Drupal 8.6, and then in Drupal 8.8 and above, it became stable. And of course, now we're in Drupal 9 and getting into Drupal 10. So yeah, so that's the kind of life cycle of Layout Builder, and it is in core, which is really nice. So before I get further into it, I'd like to define some things for folks who might not be particularly familiar with, the innards of Drupal. So a content type, also referred to as a node type, can be something like a blog, a landing page, person. So in this case, I'm doing a landing page in my demo, as well as like a person content type, if you will. Those are two, pretty common patterns that tend to appear on many websites. And taxonomy in Drupal is also known as a vocabulary. And if you're, coming from WordPress background, you might be familiar with tags and categories. Those are, probably the two most common type things that would be associated with taxonomy. A block in Drupal is generally a piece of content that can be placed within a region of a page. And of course, now blocks in Drupal have taken on a life of their own. They're fieldable. So they've come a long way. They're full-fledged entities, and they've come a long way since some of the earlier days of Drupal. We have also media entities. So images, files, videos, audio, and more. And of course, an entity in Drupal is a type of data. So it could be a content type, it could be taxonomy. I mentioned those two above. Even users are entities. We also have media as an entity in Drupal, menus, and then you can have custom entities that are either defined in code or maybe using a module like ECK, which stands for Entity Construction Kit. So that's kind of a straightforward way to define custom entities. Drupal config. So Drupal config is basically all the Drupal settings that get exported into code, which is wonderful. That's something new that happened in Drupal 8. And then that code can be versioned. So at a very simple level, you can just export that config into code, and then it can propagate into other development environments or production, staging. So it makes it fairly straightforward to get Drupal config into code. Git is basically a method to store and version code. Structured modular content. So we'll be looking at that a lot here. Basically, it's like style components. So maybe you might have an accordion or a listing of people, in a row, or things like that. Maybe tabs with content under each tab. Those things are like structured modular content, where we as developers kind of define these things that make it more straightforward for content folks to input content without having to know, HTML and CSS. So it's a way of governing content as well. And a view mode is basically the display of an entity. So you might have different view modes to display the same entity in different styles, and we'll get into that as well. Okay, so what is Layout Builder? Layout Builder is an updated paradigm for component-based structured modular content plus layout. It allows content editors and site builders to easily and quickly create visual layouts for displaying content. And you can see here in this image I have here, if folks ever used panels back in the day, you might recognize, we have a 1-column layout, a 2-column layout, 3-column, and then this one on the right is often referred to as bricks. Bricks, yes, bricks. Okay. So Layout Builder use cases. So I have 3 examples here. Content editors choose from a selection of predefined layouts and can also override on a per entity item using the Layout Builder UI. So with the predefined layouts, you might have Layout Library, which is a contrib third-party module that allows these predefined layouts to exist, and you choose in a select list. Or you might have a number of fields on an entity, which would be a good case for perhaps retrofitting Layout Builder to an existing site that has a lot of fields set up on an entity type. For example, a content type that might have a ton of fields, and perhaps you want to add Layout Builder to that. Well, you're in pretty good shape. So you could probably, that would be a fairly straightforward transition. And then content editors use a blank canvas approach, which I'll be showing you, to build a landing page from predefined components. So again, we can put on that and decide what content editors can choose from when they're taking this blank canvas approach with a module called Layout Builder Restrictions. And I'll get into some of those third-party add-ons that really enhance Layout Builder. So anatomy of a Layout Builder page. So if you're familiar with Drupal, you know that like on a content type, you'll come to this manage display page. And normally you would just see a listing of fields and you can reorder them. But when you enable Layout Builder, this changes And then you get this, so you can see here, I've enabled Layout Builder, and then you get this Manage Layout button that goes into the actual Layout Builder. So basically, you just need to enable this Use Layout Builder once you've enabled the module. And then the one below it is allow each content item to have its layout customized. And I'll show you that as well. Basically, that's like a override on a per entity item basis. So here's, once you click that Manage Layout button, then you come to this screen, and you can see here we have a lot of, number one, we have action buttons and content preview up here at the top. Number two, we have, you can add a section. 3, you can add a block. And here you can see like the possibilities for the layouts you can choose from. So here's where you can choose a block in the Layout Builder UI. And here's an example of some structured content within a block where I'm using, for these, I'm using Entity Construction Kit to have these statistics within one block. But you could also easily use paragraphs. The Drupal paragraphs module, which is very popular. So you could also use that within this paradigm as well. And you can see here, I have some color tiles and I have some styles that you can choose from. So it makes it fairly user-friendly for content editors. And okay, so who is Layout Builder for? So site builders, of course, content editors, marketing departments, and developers. So it has a wide-ranging audience, and each group would have kind of a different approach, you know, when they're doing or using Layout Builder. Yeah, so I think that works out well. Is Layout Builder extendable? Yes, it is. There's an ever-growing ecosystem of contributor modules, and there's some resources at the end of the slideshow that I'll be posting, and it links to the ecosystem page. So there's, you know, dozens and dozens of contrib modules that enhance Layout Builder. You can also define custom layouts in a module or your theme. And of course, Layout Builder Library, which allows for predefining specific layouts that content editors can choose from in a select list. So here are some of my go-to contrib modules for Layout Builder that I really like. So we have Layout Builder Styles, and I'll be showing you all these in the demo as well. So Layout Builder Styles, which is fantastic. It allows you to choose from a select list of various different predefined styles. So again, we have that kind of governance taking hold with the Layout Builder Styles by, you know, having predefined styles that content editors can choose from. We have Layout Builder Restrictions, which again adds more governance, and I'll show you an example of that. Layout Builder Modal, which definitely enhances the editing experience because it kind of takes creating a block out of that narrow sidebar and putting it into a full-blown modal. So it really enhances the content editing experience. We have component attributes, which is nice. It allows you to add IDs, one classes, and data attributes to various parts of a Layout Builder block. That would probably be something that's good for developers to use, so it might come in handy, or site builders even. Layout Builder Library is those predefined layouts that I spoke about. And Layout Builder Operation Link, I kind of love this. It's just a tiny little module that adds the edit layout link to each content item if you've allowed for overrides. So I'll show you that as well. And worth a look, Layout Builder Advanced Permissions. So that's something I have not gotten into that yet, but it's definitely worth a look. So building with Layout Builder. So you can replace an entity display with a Layout Builder UI, drag and drop functionality, which is really nice, option to preview in Layout Builder UI, custom layout templates overrideable, layout variants with layout library, custom view modes on a per entity basis. So essentially you can take a view mode for, like, let's say a person content type, and I'll show you an example of this. And you could wrap that all up in one view mode and then just render that view mode within Layout Builder. So it's great if you have a bunch of fields on a node, a content type, and you can kind of create a wrapper using entity view mode or entity view, which comes from the CTools module. It's a contrib module in Drupal, and so so that entity view mode comes from that, and I'll show you an example of that. And so this is interesting with config. If you have fields, on a content type, and you put those in Layout Builder, that will be captured by config, and you can export and import. Now, if you put blocks, custom blocks on a content type in Layout Builder, some of that might be captured by config, but it could cause issues later on when deploying, because if your remote doesn't know about those blocks, it can cause issues. However, with Layout Builder Library, what it does is, if you have custom blocks in Layout Builder Library, it serializes the data into config. So that's actually kind of cool. So there's kind of some fine nuances here with Drupal config. So it just takes, using this for a bit to kind of realize what you can and can't do. Okay, so here's a few ideas for building. Layout Builder controlled at the entity type level. Layout Builder controlled on a per entity item level, that's the override. Or offer multiple layouts to your content editors to choose from per entity using Layout Library. Theming with Layout Builder. So Layout Builder styles allows for predefined custom HTML classes per section or block, and I'll show you an example of that. We have Twig custom template suggestions. So if you're familiar with Drupal theming and Twig, you'll definitely be a happy customer with this, because there are just a ton of really good template suggestions. View modes can be set per entity and leveraged via template suggestions. Layout Builder component attributes is an ideal module for themers to add one-off classes or IDs. Then entity view, which I spoke about. So here's an example of Twig template output. So as you can see here, there's a ton of template suggestions for this, these person cards that I have in a row. And then here's the component attributes, where you can just kind of add a one-off class or some data attributes or an ID. And you'd probably want to have some governance around that, like who can use that, that module. So there might be, I believe there's some permissions for that as well. Here's your Layout Builder styles, where you can choose, in a select list of predefined styles. And here's your entity view, where you can see like all these fields are on a content type, but what I've done is I've sort of said, oh, we want a person card within all that content. So this person card could be a separate view mode that's brought into your Layout Builder layout using entity view. So that's really cool. I love that. And there's actually a core issue open for Layout Builder to have the possibility of having a wrapper around a certain number of fields. So right now, this is a good workaround that overcomes that core issue because it gives you that wrapper, and then you can theme it, with that view mode. There's also radix layouts, which I haven't really tried, but somebody had mentioned it. So that's a possibility. This reminds me of the Drupal panels module where you had all those different, layouts for panels. And I believe radix may have originated with panels. I can't remember, but at any rate, it now works with Layout Builder. And what about paragraphs? Well, paragraphs is a super popular module. We use it all the time for things. It's very powerful. And as I mentioned, you can actually use paragraphs inside Layout Builder. I think there's like a core patch you just need to apply. But once you do that, then it works really well. So that'd be good. For example, let's say you needed, you wanted to do an accordion. You could have each paragraph be an accordion item within that Layout Builder block. All right, and my live demo. Okay. And let me just, whoops. Oh, okay. I see there are some questions here. Let's see. They're not in full mode. Oh, okay. So basically creates templates. All right, I'll start with my demo. Okay, so basically for Layout Builder, we're doing on time. Okay, good, we're doing pretty good. For Layout Builder, you want to enable the Layout Builder module. This is on the Drupal modules extend page in Drupal 9. So you'll definitely want to enable the Layout Builder module and Layout Discovery. Those two modules are in core. So basically, Layout Discovery is the API, if you will, and then Layout Builder uses that. So you definitely want, these two at the very least enabled. And first, I'm going to show you the blank canvas approach. So I'm going to show you my landing page. So here's a landing page, and we have some components here. So we have a hero with an image and some text and a CTA button. We have some statistics here. We have an FAQ accordion. We have meet some of our team. And this is drawing from a person content type. We have a video here, like a media component. Then we have like a fancy call to action with like a full width, image. And this all condenses down to mobile very nicely. We have a quote here with larger text that's stylized. And here we have like a 50-50 region in Layout Builder. So you could put, whatever you want on the right or left. And let me show you the edit page for this. So if we go to the edit page, let's see. So you can see here we're on the override. So let me just go back. Let's see here. Okay. So I can click on the layout. So this has been overridden, but I do want to show you the content type. So if I go to content type and landing page, manage display. So this is where everything kind of originates. So this is the landing page content type. So we have our managed layout. We've said use layout builder. So normally on this page, you would see all the listing of fields. For example, like you would on this tab here. So you just have your basic, listing of fields. But if we go back here, we've enabled layout builder. We've said allow each content item to have its layout customized. And we've said allow all blocks from newly available categories. So this is layout builder restrictions. So you can see here that I'm putting a lot of governance on what fields or what things can be allowed in layout builder. So if we go to manage layout, we have nothing here because this is the content type itself. And because I'm taking a blank canvas approach with this one, folks would probably build this, on each individual node. So if I'm on the individual node, you can see here that, I've created these blocks and I'll go through these. So if I were to add blocks here, if they were just custom blocks, you would probably run into some issues with config. Whereas when you have fields on an entity type like a node, those are fine putting into here, and I'll show you that as well. So for now, we have this override for this individual node. And if I click configure here, you see that, we have this is basically a custom block within here, and we have our media, and we have padding bottom remove. So you can see here, I've said, remove the bottom padding off this component. And if we go back to our, visual of that, you can see here, I've said, remove the bottom padding, and that will make these flush, which is kind of a nice effect in certain cases. So, so I've done that. So I have padding bottom remove, and I have my image and my title for that. And then statistics block, I'll show you that. So here we have 3 different items from entity. These are entity construction kit items. And then I can choose a background color. So you can see here, I put some governance on what colors can be chosen. And again, I have some custom styles here. So I have title centered and full width. So if I go back to my page, you can see here it's full width. You can see here it's full width, and I have the title centered. This is for the statistics, yes. Okay, so let's go over here. So we said title centered, full width, and we have the blue background. And the FAQ block, which is an accordion, again, I have components within this block where I could, add an existing accordion, or I can, duplicate these accordion items. And again, we have, we've said title centered here, and here's my accordion. And meet our team. So in this case, meet our team, these are just entity references to a person content type. And here I've said I want a red background, full width, title centered. So if we go here, my title is centered. I have these cards, and then I have the red background. And I have my super call to action here with an image. And I have a video here with John Lewis. And that's just basically, a media video block. I have my quote, which is just another custom block where you would put in that info. And this is, layout builder modal, that contrib module I was talking about. And then we have this 2-column, and this is kind of cool. So you can actually click preview here. What I'm using here is layout builder Gin with the Gin admin theme. So this is really nice. It definitely enhances the layout builder experience. I've done some custom CSS as well. In fact, quite a bit to kind of bring this up to how I wanted it. And I can also display the template regions if I click that. So you can see here first, second content. And I've also got this little gear over here that gives you more options. So I can revert to defaults. So because this is an overridden node, we've allowed overrides on a per node basis. You could revert to the default, which would probably be nothing, because I didn't have anything built out in that main content type display, because these are all kind of custom blocks. In fact, if I edit this, I'll show you. If I edit this, you'll see there's not very many fields on this. I just have a title, and I have settings, and just a couple settings. But other than that, there's basically almost no fields on that. So yeah, that's what that is. And I have these, two 50-50. Now what I can do here is I can click on this, and I can change this layout to different widths. So I could say I want it, 3367, 2-column, mobile, and I have mobile stacking order as well. So I could say for mobile, I want it to stack right to left, right on top, left, on the bottom, or I could do left on top, right on the bottom. So there's a lot to do here. I could add another block. And one thing I want to show you here is normally, let me go over to layout library. I want to show you that. So this is layout library. This is that contrib module where you can predefine layouts. So I've predefined a layout, and if I do add block here, you'll see there's like dozens upon dozens of things in here to choose from. Whereas if I go back over here, all you have is create custom block, and you get only a certain types of blocks to choose from. And that's because I put governance on this with the layout builder restrictions module. So that really comes in handy. So here, obviously you wouldn't need layout builder restrictions for this page, because this would be a page that probably only site administrators or site builders would access, and they would place these blocks in, for this predefined layout. So here you have, basically everything, including the kitchen sink, to choose from. And this could be potentially overwhelming for content editors. So you don't want to really have all that stuff. So I just have, some very simple components here that we can choose from. And then I do want to show you, so I'm going to go over to content types. Actually, let's go to content, and I'm going to show you, well, actually, first, let me show you add content landing page. I want to show you layout builder library. So I'm going to do test predefined layout. And I'm just going to select all these, and I'm going to do my landing page starter layout and save. And now I've been given a whole predefined layout to start from with layout builder library. So that's pretty cool. So it's great for content folks because it can show you the possibilities. And then I could go over here and override that layout even. So I've chosen from Layout Builder Library, and now I can override that layout. So it's a good way to get somebody started with content. And then I'm just going to show you content types, content. Okay. So I'm going to show you this. This isn't fully themed yet, but it'll give you an idea of a very simple idea of, if I edit this, now this is a person content type. I do have a lot of fields on this node. And in the settings, I've chosen person node alternate, which comes from layout library. So, so I could choose the regular layout and save. So we see here the image is on the right. And if I edit again, then, and I go to the alternate layout, then you'll see the image is on the left. Again, I haven't fully themed this, so it's just a proof of concept right now. But it gives you an idea of how that works. And yeah, so I think that's good. Maybe we'll see if anybody.
Yeah, we do have questions. So I'm gonna
okay,
through.
Great.
I want to let Naveen in first. They were the first, and then I think just trying to go sort of in order. So then it'll be Brad's question, and then Kimberly, I think. And then if anyone's question doesn't make it into our time, if it's okay with you, Danny, I'll post on Slack in a thread, and maybe you can reply.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
Go ahead, Naveen. Nope. Did you make it in? I did accept you. I don't know if you might have to allow, I guess, Danny, do you want to, while they work on their audio video, do you want to reply to Brad? He asks, if you convert a particular node to Layout Builder, can you easily switch back if needed down the road?
Yeah, so you could. If you've allowed overrides, then it would be hard to switch back because you'd have to basically revert all those overrides on each node. But yes, in theory, you could revert back, sure. Yeah.
Cool. Kimberly and Naveen, I did click like the plus. I think that would add you. You might get a prompt or something about adding your AV. I hope I didn't do it wrong. If I did, I do apologize. If you post your questions in the Q&A, I will put them in Slack. Jason asks, how are you doing that background color picker?
Oh yeah, that's with the Drupal color field module. So that's a really nice module. It's really great because I've seen people try to do colors, and you have to enter the hash, the hash code, the 6-digit thing, and so that's a great module, Drupal color field.
Cool. Johnny asks, could one use Layout Builder to populate a decoupled / headless front end?
I don't know the answer to that directly, but I've seen folks chatting in Drupal Slack that I think it might be possible. I just don't know the answer to that offhand. But that's a great question.
If you covered this, please skip and we'll answer someone else's question. It doesn't matter. Do you use Layout Builder to control the entire page, like sidebars, or solely the main content region?
You can really use it for anything. I mean, it's very flexible. So theoretically, you could have a sidebar that's in a node template, and Layout Builder would just be, in the main content region, or you could, use it for everything. It's really flexible. So I think you could, however you like, either way.
So then Scott asks, any experiences using Layout Builder with the US WDS components,
No, I've not had any experience with that.
Okay. And Mohammed asks, I'm aware this might be an obscure question, but I really liked using tokens in panels and display suite. Do you know of any contrib modules that would allow for the use of tokens in that context?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you'd be using tokens in a WYSIWYG or something like that, or a field. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to use tokens here. I'm not exactly sure of the use case there, but I would imagine, you could hook up tokens for this, I would think. Yeah, color. I think it was color field module. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maruthi asks, can we add grid classes / attributes to the layout columns?
Yes, most definitely. You could definitely do that.
I'm really excited to finally get to use it. Now I'm just sharing my own feelings because someone hasn't asked another question yet. Kimberly and Naveem, I apologize if I messed up the access when I was trying to add you. If you want to chime in, if you want to try requesting again, I would love to try that again, or else you can post your questions in Q&A, or maybe you don't have questions anymore. And I'm just calling you out, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. In my office, we'd been waiting a while to add it because we had some standard design components that we've been using for a while. And so it was going to be a lot of like upfront work to sort of change things over. But we actually finally have a project coming up where we're going to get to use it. And I'm excited.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I wonder about the tokens, if it may be something about putting arguments into... I don't know if that's what Mohammed meant, but maybe something about applying arguments to contextual filter values for like view blocks and things like that. And if that's not what they meant, I don't know if you have anything to recommend about that. Is that something that you can do? Oh, they meant including them within the markup of the layout. Pardon me.
Oh, gosh. Mohammed, do you mean like in an actual Twig template or in like a WYSIWYG? Oh, okay. Well, in a Twig template, you'd probably be, defining variables or getting variables from a preprocess. So I'm not sure you'd be using tokens per se in there, but certainly you can make all kinds of data available in the Twig template. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Danny. This is a really wonderful session. If there's any interest, I'll still put us, if anybody wants to chime in that they might have follow-up questions, I might start a Slack, or Danny, you can do that if you feel like it. And people can ask follow-up questions. Or anyone can, I suppose. You can just ask your questions right in Slack. We just have one channel this year, so it's a little bit, but I encourage everyone to use threads in Slack as much as possible. Was there one more question? Oh, great session. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you all in, I'll DM you, Jason. I'll see you all at Keynote coming up.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.